What? We can always get another if we need. Don't hurt yourself.
We're Jennie and James, two Canadians from the opposite sides of Canada who met in Whistler in 2015.
This is where our van life journey began, with our first and second camper vans before moving abroad.
Having done van life in Canada and Australia, we've experienced the bitter cold, the extreme heat, and a whole lot of ups and downs.
In the summer of 2020, we decided it was time to take our hobby to the next level and build camper vans full time.
After building several vans, we want to share with you what we've learned. Subscribe and follow along in our first build series, where we show you how to do everything from square one to the finishing touches.
Hey guys, we're James and Jennie. We're converting our 2018 Promaster in Vancouver, Canada, and today we're going to be laying some vinyl floors, so we're going to show you how we do that.
So your two main options when choosing floors for your van are probably laminate and vinyl. Laminate is the cheaper option, but we always like going with vinyl because they're waterproof and you're not going to have to worry about it expanding over time. So it's just a little more durable. When you're coming in the winter time, if you're in somewhere cold like Canada, you're not going to have to worry about the water seeping into your floors and expanding. So that's why we've chosen vinyl. This time we actually got vinyl that's called like drop lock, yeah. So it's our first time doing drop lock, and we actually just opened up the box and realized that you need a rubber mallet to like lock them together. So I thought we might be able to use the rubber side of a hammer to do it, and I actually just like made a small chip onto the first one. So we just went next door and asked one of our neighbors, and luckily they had it, so we didn't have to make a trip into town. So step one, make sure you have all the tools.
And step two, you're done. Look at that. That was easy, huh?
Pranked! So one end's gonna have a little lip on it, and then the other one is gonna have the lip underneath. So those are the ones you need to put together. You just line them up, make sure it's super perfect. So you just drop it gently and then just hammer it. There you go.
Nice. Basically, the only way you can see the seam is because of the difference in the tiles, but there's no gap there. It's nice and smooth.
And the floors are actually kind of floating, so we just kind of started along the line of our wheel well, and kind of in behind there is going to be unfinished, so we probably won't put a piece right there, but here it is going to be finished, so we can just bring it out, put more in, then just slide it in, so it's pretty easy to work with.
We've come to a point now where we need to cut one of our pieces because it's going to be too long. So we just measured the area that we needed to go to, and we're just going to make a right angle cut. We're not going to mess with that corner because it's going to be covered up. So we measured it on this plank. Make sure you take note of which end you're cutting, because we still need the end that goes over this to overlap. So that means we need to cut this end, if that makes sense. So we just measured to here, and I tried to trace it out, but it's not really showing up. So we're just gonna score with an Exacto knife directly on the back side of this, like this. You should be able to just snap it. All right, so when you're gonna attach a piece against a long edge and a short edge that have been already laid, you want to do the long edge first like this, and make sure it's all lined up, pressed against, and then lined up here, and hammer it down. Sweet.
So with the Promasters, the end is curved here, so it's gonna be a bit of a difficult area, but basically James just cut from the longest edge, and then we're gonna actually use a jigsaw to cut out that little nook. A little tip with this type, the leftover from the plank that James isn't using, just this piece, can actually be the start of the next row, so I can actually get going and keep laying planks down to meet James. And basically you'll just have the cut edge here, but this is gonna go in together, and then this is the tip that's gonna just keep going on, so I can keep working while he's doing that and be nice and productive. So I just used, this is the end of our last piece, so I just have the cut end at the very edge, and now it's got the lip. So basically you just take your new piece, make sure this is a straight edge because the lip needs to pop out for the next piece. So first just line it up with the long end, and it helps if you put it in at like a 45-degree angle, something shallow. Have it nice and pressed up so there's no gaps, and then do your short edge here. and then you just hammer it in. There's like a little chip when I tried to use the hammer. Or is it the other end of the hammer?
Alright, so I'm just chucking my piece in. It didn't need too much of a cut there, but it's got a little slant. And I can't really lift it up too much because this is in the way, so that'll be fine. Get my hammer. It's over there.
That was so Canadian.
Over there. Alright, so for doing wonky curves like this, where you're going to want to start is measure the longest section of it, because you don't want to cut it from the shortest section, otherwise it'll end like that. So I took my ruler along the edge of this one here, shoved it all the way up to there. So that's the longest section. Make sure you measure the tongue here. So that's 24 3/4.
Right up to the edge there.
Yeah, right up to that. So that's the piece we have here. And then now when you're trying to get the edge, just line it up with the ones beside it as best you can. I'm just putting it in the groove and sliding it all the way up there. And now you want to go where the curve stops and it starts to straighten out again. So that's pretty much right there. So again, you're just gonna take your ruler and then make a little mark right here. It's hard to see, but I can see that on there, so I got my mark there. And then you also want to take note of how far out it is. So it's 1 3/8 out. So then from this side, you're gonna measure out 1 3/8, make it a little mark. And then you can pretty much just eyeball from your 2 marks how the curve looks, and you can draw it out from this point to that point, and you know that no matter what you do, as long as you don't do a straight line, it's gonna be somewhat of a curve, and it's gonna fit in that spot. And there it is, all in place. Not perfect, but does the trick. What?
Is that gonna be enough? It's gonna be close.
It's gonna be pretty close. We can always get another if we need. Don't hurt yourself. So we just laid out all of the rest of the pieces to make sure we had enough to fill in all the important spaces, and we do. So now we're just getting picky and gonna decide which colors we like the best for when you first walk in.
So it took us 3 boxes. I guess probably different flooring is probably different sizes and stuff.
Boxes of vinyl flooring will have a square foot measurement, and for the 159 extended Promaster, there's about 80 square feet of floor space, which equated to roughly 3 boxes of what we used.
We did leave this area empty because we're actually gonna box it all in, and you're not gonna see under there anyway. So we probably could put 1 more slice there.
If we have extra.
Yeah, if we have extra, we might do it.
Yeah.
So I actually laid floors with my parents recently when I was home visiting during COVID and everything. And we renovated our house and we actually did flooring just like this. And the tradesman that we were working with said that the best way to make sure that the colors are all like super random is not to look at the color. I know we just said that we were gonna do that for the entrance spot, but the best thing to do is just pull from the box and just don't worry about the color and it should all work itself out.
Alright, so Jenny's just studying for a test she's got to do today, so I just set up the gazebo because it's raining a little bit out here. Ooh, that's bright. There we go. Yeah, just gonna finish the floor. We got kind of caught up after dinner last night, but we just left a couple pieces to do, and I'm just gonna finish that. Alright, so I'm just trying to fill in this last little sliver on the side. Obviously, it's not the width of a full piece. I've just measured how wide I want it to be there, and I've made my mark. I drew a line all the way across using actually another piece, just because that's kind of the straightest thing I have that fits that space. Very carefully and slowly, I did 1 score line all the way along with my Exacto knife, and then I did a couple more deeper just to make sure it was deep enough. And now, in order to crack it, it's kind of hard to do it over your knee because it's such a long piece. So I'm just gonna line it up. It should actually line up perfectly with the edge of my floor. So I'm just gonna hold my hand down here and use my other hand to crack it along that edge. Alright, so I'm just about done. These are the scraps we have left. Really not a big deal, but I'll just fill whatever I can with what's left. Alright, and so that's the finished product. Still leaving a couple gaps there. I didn't bother going too crazy with the extra pieces because Jenny would kill me for wasting my time like we are gonna have this completely covered and not visible, so doesn't matter. Pretty happy with all the parts that do matter. Right on this edge, there is like a little bit of plywood showing, but we're gonna have a metal finishing kind of corner piece on that, so that's gonna be hidden. And all these parts, I'm pretty happy with the angles. We might do some sort of, I don't know, sealant or finishing piece over all that as well, but for now, like, looks pretty good.